Friends, so let's start with our group discussion. I'll be giving you a topic which is recently asked in these public sectors, and you are to participate in group discussion, which we have three parts of that. You're already aware. One is introduction, and then body, and then conclusion. Right? Make sure you are jotting down the important points also when you are participating with others. I'll give you a topic and then some minutes to think, and then one of you can start it. Right? The topic is various forms of corruption. Various forms of corruption. That is the topic. Various forms of corruption. Okay, please unmute, friends. Unmute yourself. Each one of you unmute and start the discussion now.
Good evening,
So my name is Phil Batra, and I'm really glad that I got this opportunity to start the group discussion. So the topic of our group discussion is the various forms of corruption.
There is corruption, as we all know that it's our country is a very great and targeted problem right now, and the corruption is not only on one factor, that is the money which we can see, that is the most form of corruption. There is other forms of corruption also. For example, you can see the nepotism, which is happening, which is quite popular in the Bollywood industry. You can see, and there is also fraud things which is going on with the innocent people. So, so there are many aspects of corruption. So let's.
Yes, Manu, you are completely right. There are many forms of corruption. For example, corruption in the form of money, corruption in the form of favors, corruption in the form of any materialistic things. For example, if a policeman catches any biker, and if a biker instead of paying fine gives them money, then it is a form of money corruption. For example, we are in any government department in favor of, for example, if we want to do our job very fast, so they'll give us a favor if we have any relatives. So this is a form of favor corruption. And
Yes,
for example, if we are passing and if, for example, a government is passing any tender, and for example, and for that they are giving the party in the, for example, any materialistic thing, for example, AC, refrigerator, and also this is a form of materialistic
मुझे
corruption.
लगता है कि ये एजुकेशन से ही शुरू करना चाहिए, जैसे कि हम लोग को स्कूल कॉलेज में इंफ्रा बनाने के लिए या फिर लैब के लिए वहां पे भी करप्शन होने के कारण हम लोग को इक्विपमेंट नहीं मिल पाता है, जिसके कारण हम लोग का स्किल डेवलप नहीं हो पाता है। तो हम लोग को वहां पे थोड़ा सा करप्शन को मैनेज करना चाहिए, जिससे कि हम लोग का स्किल डेवलपमेंट हो, जो कि बेटरमेंट के लिए बने रहे।
Yes, Pramit, you are right. Everywhere there is a corruption.
But what I say that how do you give me the how we can control these things?
We can control the
transparency
corruption by
introduce
increasing
करेंगे
the laws. For example, if you make the strict laws, then it will control the corruption. For example, if you are charging a hefty amount and you are like if someone does corruption, it will be a charge, and for that he has to spend in a jail kind of thing. So in that way we can control the corruption.
Okay, friends, I want to classify some type of corruption, like there are financial corruption, political corruption, administrative corruption, corruption in the private sector, corruption in international relationships. So there are basically, when we talk about financial corruption, that is happen in many places, like when we saw private sector or government sector, when some projects are running, so their higher authority will consume some money from that part. So there are basically these types of corruption happen around the world or around us.
हाँ बिल्कुल,
अगर मेडिकल इंडस्ट्री में देखा जाए तो
करप्शन
बहुत हाई लेवल पे है, जिसके कारण की ट्रीटमेंट हम लोग को बहुत डिसकंटिन्यूटी है, वहाँ पे जो मिलना चाहिए ट्रीटमेंट वो मिल नहीं पाता है। तो मेडिकल
yes, as you have seen in Kolkata, they are selling the parts. So this is the most corruption we are seeing.
बिल्डिंग के अंदर बिल्डिंग सही तरीके से कंस्ट्रक्ट नहीं करते हॉस्पिटल की, इवन जो दवाइयां वगैरह होती है वो सही तरीके से नहीं रखते वहाँ पे। तो इस तरीके से हेल्थ सेक्टर में भी काफी ज्यादा करप्शन है।
Also, I would like to add a point. During COVID-19, where 2 years we had strict lockdowns during our college days. So most of our exams were online. So many of us, how many of us would tell us that we did not copy during our exams? The copying during our exams that we did and getting full marks in every subject, that was also a form of corruption as well. So I believe that
Yes,
that
Tejas,
was
you
also a
are
form of corruption.
yeah, you are absolutely right. As we know, the current NEET scam where the paper got leaked. So here we can also say that in education we should avoid this kind of corruption because it will ultimately change the life of students in future.
Yes,
But I
I
want to
agree with
say,
you. Like there are many
I
और
want
kinds of
मुझे लगता
corruption
है कि
happening.
स्पोर्ट्स में भी अगर करप्शन को कंट्रोल किया है तो हम लोग का रैंकिंग ठीक हो सकता है
I want to add one more
और
point
स्पोर्ट्स
to
में
the
हाँ,
previous
जिसका
point that
एग्जाम्पल हमने अभी
previous
देखा
what
है कि
said
जो
that
इंडिया
in
है
the
उसने एक भी गोल्ड
education
मेडल नहीं
sector
जीता है,
you
तो
will see
ऑफकोर्स हम
या
खेल के क्षेत्र में भी काफी करप्शन इंडिया के अंदर है, पर ऑफकोर्स हम इसको आने वाले टाइम के अंदर ऑफकोर्स रिमूव होगा.
But
There
to
is
add
a
one more point
corruption
to the
with
Tejas point
many
that
of the
Tejas was saying
government
that
projects.
there is corruption in the education sector also. That
Monu, we should
someone
also
is taking
allow
the
Monu, we should allow everyone to speak. So let Bhavna speak.
Yes, I also agree with you point, friends. Like we can observe corruption in many of the educational institutions. Like for many, like we can say that corruption can be seen in many of entrance exams. Like we recently saw in our NEET entrance exam and many of very many college seats. And we can also observe corruption in many projects and bridges construction where and road constructions also where after a few days they're just falling.
Yes, in case of Bihar, we have seen so many cases.
Yes, recently the incident had happened.
So nepotism is also a form of corruption. Giving chance to people who are known. The higher authorities give the chances to only those people to whom they know and who they are relative of. Only those are given chances in their organization, and it is not on the basis of merit. So that is also a form of corruption. That is already mentioned, but I just highlighted that point. Okay.
I want to add one point that I think that the solution for this would be that we should implement the digitization. Digitization will bring us the transparency amongst the people and also amongst the government, which will I think will reduce a little bit of corruption.
I think we can avoid this form of corruption by using from the base only. Like if your values are good, then you won't be able to do that corruption. So I think we have to work on this
हाँ,
from
इसकी
the
शुरुआत
next
हमको
starting.
स्कूल से ही करनी होगी. स्कूल के अंदर
जैसे
ये
कि
लोगों को
भावना ने
सिखाना होगा
बोला
कि
कि हम लोग को
स्कूल के
एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन
अंदर
में
इनको
काम
बताना
करना
होगा
चाहिए
कि
जैसे
करप्शन वगैरह ना करें, कम कैसे हम एथिकल वर्क करें. हमको ये स्कूल से ही स्टार्ट करेगा.
Yes,
I would like to add a
absolutely.
few points. I
स्कूल
agree
से
with all
पहले
of
भी
y'all,
हम
but
स्टार्ट कर सकते
I
हैं. हमारे
don't.
पेरेंट्स
I agree with all of y'all, but I also disagree with the fact that corruption is not totally bad a thing. It is always said that corruption is a grease for the economy. Let's, for example, if you go towards for making of a license, if you stand in the queue where government vehicle is being coming, and if you stand in the queue, then there are almost 50 to 100 people standing in the queue and waiting for the government vehicle for passing its test. But you can there is also provision by which you can take your own vehicle and you can give the exam, and for which we have to pay money like 100 or 150.
corruption is corruption.
150
There
rupees.
is nothing like that good corruption और bad corruption. अगर हम corruption को इस तरीके से कैटेगराइज करेंगे तो हम इसको रिमूव ही नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो corruption हमेशा corruption ही होता है, उसको हमको bad वे के अंदर लेना चाहिए.
Yes,
Yes,
Yuvraj is
corruption
right.
is a corruption.
The point
Absolutely
here
right.
is not.
You spend small amount of money or large amount of money. Corruption is corruption. It starts from there only.
Let's say you are a government employee, and if you are the government says that you cannot work after your duty has been completed, you cannot work for extra. But say for example, you want to earn extra money and you want to earn something more, and you want to earn for your family. So if you are earning something extra, that would also be counted as a corruption. So the definition of corruption is not
Tejas. If you are doing corruption for a good cause, that you cannot justify. Na, you are doing corruption, but you are doing corruption for a good cause. Then it doesn't mean that corruption is good.
Bro, I want to add one
So,
point in this. Like,
अगर आप कोई
like
भी
we can
गवर्नमेंट एंटिटी या
do
कहीं
it.
से जुड़ते हो तो स्टार्ट में ही बताया जाता है कि आपको इसी से इतना से ही मिलेगा, इतना से काम चलाना पड़ेगा, तो आप
Bro,
उसको नहीं कर सकते कि ज्यादा इनकम
but
बढ़ाना है।
that
अगर नहीं करना तो फिर ज्वाइन ही मत करो इंस्टीट्यूशन।
okay, friend, I agree with you, but I want to add one more point. Like we can implement blockchain algorithm, which is now it is implemented. It will provide transparency in services like it will fairly distribute the things to the consumer. So it will provide transparency in the public.
Not
By
only
implementing
blockchain, we should go to the like UPI payments, digitalization. The more
Yeah.
we will go, like the payments will be digitalized, so we will know
Also,
that where
अगर
the payment started, where it goes. For example, if you want to like pay the money of
ऑफ कोर्स
corruption
हम अगर
via
फिजिकली
via
मनी को
UPI,
रिमूव
then they
करेंगे और
will
डिजिटल
not pay.
ट्रांजेक्शन करेंगे तो करप्शन ऑफ कोर्स रिड्यूस होगा, और अभी रिड्यूस हो भी रहा है, हम इसका
Yes,
इफेक्ट
yes,
देख भी पा रहे हैं।
yes.
also
जैसे कि
For
पहले की
example,
बात
if
हम
करें
लोग
तो
को
पहले
I think we are
स्कूल
deviating
में
from the topic.
पॉलिटिक्स
The
में भी
topic is
करप्शन को फेस
various
करना
forms of
पड़ेगा।
corruption. The topic given to us is
Yes.
various forms of corruption, and the topic is not how to reduce the corruption. So we have to just identify which are the types of corruption
yes,
and
yes, we have
identify.
Yeah, but political corruption
identified
is
the
also
various form of
corruption, na? That's
corruption.
why I'm
Just
telling
we
you.
are giving a solution to that.
हाँ ऑफ कोर्स
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay then.
like corruption internationally भी होते हैं, like different countries मिलके एक countries को eliminate करना, like this is also a type of corruption.
Yeah, these days we can see like a kind of corruption, but not exactly. Like our food industry has also changed a lot. Like whatever the food we are eating, we are seeing a lot of corruption in that, and we are not having a good quality of food also. So this is the one kind of corruption in the food industry. Like they're adulterating the whatever the natural food, and they're making it very low quality standards.
ऑफ कोर्स हम दिवाली के टाइम पे ये सब काफी चीजें देखते हैं, जैसे कि हमारे पास जो मावा आता है वो मिलावट का आता है, इवन कई मिठाइयाँ भी आती है वो मिलावट के अंदर आती है। तो ऑफ कोर्स जो जब हमारे फंक्शंस वगैरह होते हैं उस टाइम पे हम इस फॉर्म ऑफ करप्शन को देखते हैं।
उसको देखने के लिए वैसे फसाई का अगर आप सिंबल देखो तो वो एक अच्छा स्टैंडर्ड इंस्टीट्यूट है जो कि एक अच्छे लेवल तक एग्जामिन करके ही आगे पास ऑन करता है, तो उसको एक देख सकते हैं हम कि अगर अच्छा क्वालिटी चाहिए तो।
Nepotism is also becoming one of the serious problems nowadays, because of which the quality of the content which we see in the movies of the Bollywood films, they are also degrading. As we can see that most of the India's people's interest are going towards the south films, because there the nepotism rate is a little bit lower as compared to Bollywood rates. What do you think in this?
Yes, I agree with you. Like, we can also add another point, like in digital content or in social media also, like wherever the more most politicians or who has the most influence, they are controlling most of the content. Like even if small amount of percentage people, if someone post controversial things, then again corruption will be there, and this is a form of corruption. Like the most influential is controlling most of the digital content too.
बिकॉज हम इसको इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड करप्शन कह सकते हैं, लोगों को फेक दिखा के उनको इन्फ्लुएंस करना, ये इवन इलेक्शन के टाइम के अंदर काफी ज्यादा होता है ये।
Yeah, I also remember that money.
Absolutely right.
Money laundering is also a form of corruption. I believe that is also.
I want to add one more point. Like there's also education corruption, where higher authorities of that institute will sell their seats of desired strength in government, which will also one type of corruption.
Not also they sell, even किसी कॉलेज के अंदर जो बच्चों के लिए पैसा आता है, इवन उसके अंदर भी लोग करप्शन कर जाते हैं। किसी बिल्डिंग के अंदर लिफ्ट बननी चाहिए वो नहीं बना रहे, जो फूड की क्वालिटी है उसके अंदर करप्शन कर रहे हैं। तो एजुकेशन के अंदर भी वेरियस टाइप के करप्शंस होते हैं।
Yes, not only in education, there are various corruption in that government schemes also. For example, midday meal scheme, the students are not getting the amount of food which they're supposed to get. So in that government schemes also there's a corruption, for example, in education, and that in hospitality you can also see there's a corruption. In the government hospitals, they are not available the desired amount of medicines and all.
Yes, Asil, I agree with you. And also you will see in the
बिकॉज कुछ
government hospitals
पर
that
कुछ गवर्नमेंट
most
स्कीम्स है
of
जहाँ
the
पे करप्शन बिल्कुल
seats
नहीं
are
होता, जैसे
reserved
कि
for
हम अभी देख रहे
their
हैं कि जो पीएम
own
किसान निधि योजना है
related
उसके अंदर डायरेक्ट
peoples.
किसानों को पैसा ट्रांसफर हो रहा है। तो अगर हम डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर करें तो उससे हम करप्शन को काफी हद तक रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं, जो हमारी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स है उनके अंदर।
बट हमें पॉलिटिकल करप्शन को भी देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर पार्टी में देश के लिए अगर कोई नया आइडिया नहीं आएगा, आने नहीं दोगे आप, वही रिलीजन बेस्ड कास्ट बेस्ड पॉलिटिक्स करोगे तो हम इम्प्रूव नहीं कर सकते। तो वो एक मेजर करप्शन है मेरे हिसाब से। वहां पे भी आइडिया को आगे लाना चाहिए, न्यू आइडिया को।
बेसिकली जो करप्शन है ना, तो सबसे ज्यादा जो लोग अफेक्ट होते हैं डेट आर वीकर सेक्शन, बिकॉज जो स्कीम्स वगैरह लागू होती हैं वो उनके मेनली उनके लिए होती है, बट व्हेन करप्शन इज अकर्ड देन दे विल अफेक्ट मोस्टली, सो वी हैव टू कंसर्न अबाउट देम।
Yes, we
Anybody
can
can
also
conclude
बिकॉज
now?
देर आर वन फॉर्म ऑफ करप्शन, जो गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज होते हैं वो जो काम
Okay, friends,
I
anybody
think
can
guys there
conclude
is
now?
a time up.
Conclude now. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Harshil Batra, and on behalf of everyone, I would like to conclude. So we had a very healthy and fruitful discussion in which we discussed various forms of corruption. For example, corruption in education sector, corruption about the nepotism, corruption about the this politics, corruption in digital media. So these are the forms of various corruption which we discussed. So thank you.
Okay, so Harshil, how many types of what contribution was from your side?
Sir, I have talked about the education corruption. I have talked about this health sector corruption. I have talked about this digital media corruption.
नहीं, ये तो सारा करप्शन की फॉर्म्स नहीं है ना। एजुकेशन तो डिपार्टमेंट है, उसमें कौन सी करप्शन? कुछ करप्शंस के
So,
टाइप्स
for
होने चाहिए।
example, money corruption. So, for example, money corruption, corruption in the form of favors, corruption in the form of materialistic things.
See, money can be bribery. Money can be one bribery form, and then favoritism, nepotism can be corruption. These are the points. So, हर्षिल, आपका इंट्रोडक्शन देखो, कंक्लूजन में I told you many times, friends, for the conclusion there is no rush. So if you are jotting down the points and if you want to pass GD, try to conclude, because there is no rush in conclusion. Nobody will be interested to conclude. So by the time observer will say conclude, people will not be attentive. So conclusion is the easiest pie you guys can think of conclusion. But only thing is you have to write from the very beginning about this, right? So you have to write and then only you can conclude. Okay, now I think Yogendra, you can conclude.
Yes, sir. On the behalf of everyone, I want to conclude the discussion. It was a great discussion. Some of my friends are in the favor of, it is very controversial discussion, and there are too much form of corruption, like financial corruption, political corruption, administrative corruption, corruption in international and private sector corruption. Here the corruptions are in the form of money, in the form of seeds, and also there are domestic corruptions, like there are some policies that government is implemented for poor people, which was corrupt by higher authorities. So these are the basically main cause of corruption. Thank you.
Okay, what was your contribution, Yogendra, to the entire discussion?
Yes, sir. So firstly, sir, I am classified corruptions like financial corruption, political corruption, administrative
Okay. Okay, I think we can go with Tejas. Tejas, please conclude now.
Okay, okay, friends, I take this opportunity to conclude. Okay. Okay. Okay, okay, friends. I take this opportunity to conclude discussion. Friends, we had quite okay discussion, and some of the points discussed in the discussion was nepotism and favoritism is a corruption. Then bribe, money giving or bribery is also corruption. Then there is a preference. Okay, medical corruption is also there. Then examination corruption, entrance exam corruption. And we also discussed about how to reduce corruption. That is, blockchain technology should be used. Then there is adulteration of food. That was effect of corruption. Social media influential corruption. Then money laundering was also a form of corruption. Uh, uh, so we these were the points discussed in the discussion. So I personally believe that corruption does not is very harmful for the economy, but up to a certain extent, it is also grease for the economy. Thank you.
Okay, Tejas, so corruption actually is not good for the economy. Even if you trying to tell that way, so you may not be in position to justify. So try to avoid those kind of things. Talking about both dimensions for something which is social evil. So corruption is actually social evil. You should not say that it has some advantage, even if it looks like advantage, but actually eventually it will come out to be disadvantage. Uh, advantage is not there of corruption. Another thing is like
Okay.
your points, nepotism and all this good, but yeah, you provide some more dimension and you should participate more, Tejas. Sometime you participate more,
Okay.
sometime you are taking a lot of gaps. So don't take a lot of gaps. Try to speak in between and try to conclude the discussion if possible, right?
Okay. Okay, Sash.
Yeah, Bhavani, would you like to conclude?
Yes, sir. I take the opportunity to conclude our discussion. We had a good and a fruitful discussion. So we discussed various forms of corrosion.
Sorry.
Hospitals and infrastructures and government projects and bridges, and we discussed about the jobs, as well as we had some discussion about how to reduce corruption also, and we had discussed about blockchain technology and UPI payments for the transparency, and we discussed about the food industry corruption and how the government schemes get corrupted, and the social media influencers in digital content, how it is being influenced by the corruption, and about money laundering. So yeah, in these things, we have observed corruption.
What is your contribution to the
Thank you.
content, Bhavani? What did you add? Your
Sir,
points?
I mentioned about food industry corruption and how the food quality is degrading, and as well as I mentioned about how social media digital content is getting corrupted by big influencers. And I mentioned also like I gave an example about NEET entrance exam in regarding with the educational institutions and recent bridge collapses in Bihar.
Okay, so these are the examples of the corruption, but these are not the names of the corruption. Right? So anyhow, Bhavani, you took a lot of time. You entered very late in the discussion. You were one of the last candidates to enter. Don't delay that much. Try to enter early in the discussion, right?
Yes, sir.
Try to enter early and try to either introduce or conclude, whatever you can do. But for that, you need to be first and fastest. You need to be the first,
Yes.
and then with fast pace, you have to either introduce or conclude. So don't delay much and keep participating in between. These are some of the thumb rules, right? Enter into the
Yes.
discussion first and keep discussing and do not delay much. That is how you have to do it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I think Monu, you can conclude the discussion.
Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to conclude. Moving forward, this discussion was very much detailed and everybody gave their points regarding this. At the conclusion, we have come to the point that corruption is affecting almost all of the people, but severely affecting the poor people also. And we have come to the points that in order to control this corruption, we should have some strict rules and regulations which must be implemented from the government side, as Harshil said. And according to Parmeet, as he said that we should start teaching this quality education about eradication of corruption from the school itself, and there should be some transparency also, which would reduce the number of corruption which is going on across our countryside. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, now Monu, see, you introduced the topic, but you did not give any direction to the discussion or classification to the topic. You,
I
when you get the opportunity to introduce, just see that whether somebody else is also introducing. And at one point, you should not overlap. You should not, keep on speaking without getting bothered about somebody else is talking. So you need to see that whether somebody else is talking also or not. Keep participating in between also and enter with the energy and give the direction to the discussion. You should only introduce the topic if you have some idea about the topic and you are giving direction to the discussion, right? That way,
I wanted to, I was in the way to give the direction to the topic, but I was stopped by.
Because you were not fastest. No, you were first, but you're not fastest. You need to be first and you need to be fastest so that you don't let anybody else cut you, right? So if you'll take big pause in between speaking, energy level, if you'll decrease, somebody else will enter.
Yes.
Okay. Now I think Hemraj.
Thank you everyone to giving me this opportunity to conclude this group discussion. We have a healthy and fruitful group discussion. हमने सबने काफी अच्छे पॉइंट्स रखे और काफी डायरेक्शंस के अंदर पॉइंट रखे. सबसे पहले हमने करप्शन की फॉर्म्स के बारे में डिस्कस किया, जिसके अंदर हमने करप्शन की कई फॉर्म्स है, जैसे नेपोटिज्म, मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, इसके अलावा मेडिकल के अंदर करप्शन, एजुकेशन के अंदर करप्शन, इसके अलावा इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड करप्शन, फाइनेंशियल करप्शन, और इसके अलावा भी हमने कई वेरियस फॉर्म ऑफ करप्शन के बारे में डिस्कस किया. इसके बाद में हमने लास्ट के अंदर डिस्कस किया कि हम करप्शन से कैसे बाहर आ सकते हैं. तो इसके अंदर हमने कुछ टेक्निक्स बताए, जिसके अंदर हमने बताया कि हम ब्लॉकचेन मेथड यूज कर सकते हैं. इसके अलावा अगर हम डिजिटल पेमेंट करें तो उससे भी हम करप्शन को रिमूव कर सकते हैं. इसके अलावा अगर हम स्ट्रिक्ट रूल आए और इसके अलावा अगर हम एजुकेशन, मोरल एजुकेशन दे बच्चों को, जिससे कि वो सीख पाए कि हमको करप्शन नहीं करना है, तो इसके थ्रू भी हम करप्शन को काफी हद तक रिमूव कर पाएंगे. सो दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड सर. थैंक यू.
Okay, Hemraj, आपको in the beginning when you started talking about this, आपको थोड़ा पेस अप करना है, आपको रेगुलरली एंटर करना है डिस्कशन में. आपको गैप नहीं ले सकते बहुत ज्यादा जो आप ले रहे थे, बहुत लंबा गैप आपने लिया, दैट शुड नॉट बी डन. यू शुड रेगुलरली एंटर इन द डिस्कशन सो दैट आप पार्टिसिपेट ढंग से कर पाए, राइट? सो दैट इज ओनली थिंग एंड ट्राई टू कंक्लूड और इंट्रोड्यूस, इन दो में से कोई एक. या प्रमित.
थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर गिविंग मी द अपॉर्चुनिटी. तो जैसा कि हम लोग का डिस्कशन अच्छा रहा और हम लोग कुछ कॉमन पॉइंट्स पे आए हैं, जिसपे सबसे पहला है फाइनेंशियल करप्शन. अगर इसमें देखा जाए तो इसमें हम लोग का फाइनेंशियल करप्शन में एजुकेशन, मेडिकल फील्ड्स, जॉब्स जैसे नीट्स स्कैम और जॉब सिलेक्शन, जहाँ पे हम लोग को टैलेंट वहाँ पे आ नहीं पाता है, वो एक फॉर्म का करप्शन हुआ. और दूसरा, जैसे किन्हीं ने बोला कि नेपोटिज्म, जो कि ऑल्सो इन पॉलिटिक्स और इन इंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री, कहीं पे भी एक ही चीज हम लोग को आइडिया बार बार रिपीट होने पे मिलता है. वहां पे हम लोग अगर न्यू आइडिया को लाएंगे तो वो वहां पे हम लोग इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं. और करप्शन स्पोर्ट्स में भी है और मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, और इसको ठीक करने के लिए हम लोग को ट्रांसपेरेंसी और बढ़ाना पड़ेगा और थोड़ा डिजिटल होना पड़ेगा. थैंक यू.
इसमें आपका कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या था प्रमित?
मैंने एक बोला था स्पोर्ट्स का, फिर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज का आना करप्शन वहां पे भी है, और मेडिकल और एजुकेशन.
Okay, friends, so let me give you the feedback to all of you. So the topic was types of corruption, and most of you misunderstood it like application of the corruption. You were giving the applications where corruption is seen, example of the corruption rather, not application. Example of the corruption you were giving, that food में ये होता है, ऐसा होता है. They are all examples actually. You were supposed to tell types of the corruption also. So maybe the best introduction could have been the friends topic given for the discussion is various forms of the corruption, and in this we should tell, I mean, in which various types of forms corruption is visible. It has many forms and also visible in Indian society. First, we should discuss about the types of corruption, their examples, and then we should also discuss about how to minimize or mitigate the corrupt activities, because no country can develop if corruption is there. So, as far as my knowledge is concerned, I think corruption has different forms. It starts from the corruption which is in the public life, the corruption in the private life. It is related to your behavior, how you do your job or you don't do the job. It is related to money circulation, the way you start earning money illegally. That is also corruption. It is also like not doing your job. So it is very wider perspective. So now I open the house for the discussion. That way you could have discussed the, opened up the discussion. Now, if you see the forms of the corruption, in how many forms it can be there, then corruption is not only bribery. That means you don't do your work, but you take money for doing your work. That is a corruption. This which is called bribery. Typically in government system, when you want to get work done from the government system, it is called bribery. Like if you approach some government official and he's not doing his work, you give him money and does the work. That is called bribery. It is a form of corruption. Another form of corruption is favoritism or nepotism. Like if your relative is there and you help him out unless out of the way, that is corruption. Embezzlement is misappropriation of public funds for personal gain. That means you are misusing the public office or public authority for your benefit. You are misusing the car, vehicle, or something. That is also corruption. Extortion, I mean, getting the money or getting the money by threatening somebody. That is also corruption. So all these are bureaucratic corruptions. Maybe I can share with you on the screen. If you find this various type of corruption on media, you'll or Google out these things, so you'll find some categories. So corruption can be categorized in different forms. It can be bureaucratic corruption. So all this is bureaucratic, related to office, related to government or public office. That is also one of the forms of corruption. Then the corruption can be political corruption also. Bribery, nepotism, electoral fraud, election may fraud, that is also political corruption. So different classifications are political corruption, bureaucratic corruption, economic corruption. Black money is also economic corruption. You see these big people like, Vijay Mallya and all. They left country and staying abroad. There is a economic corruption. Money laundering, tax evasion, social corruption, not doing your job, social exclusion, discrimination, caste discrimination. That is social, corruption. Corruption in media, corruption in education, application. These are application, other forms you can say. So it is, corruption can be in different forms. These are some of the forms of the corruption which you should be aware, right? Political and different corruption. So these are various forms of the corruption. So just revise this various forms of corruption. This can be asked, in the interview also, right? This is how you did revise it. So keep jotting on these points, but more important is like how you participate, how you conclude, how you listen to others. That is very, very important. Participation is very, very important in GD, right? Content, even if you don't have much content, but if you participate properly, you will score good. Now, I have given you some marks, friends, on the basis of your discussion. So this is the marks which I gave you for the discussion. .5 plus you need. Those who have got less, the reason for them largely is like they participated less. They did not give much content. So last column is like overall marks. This column is overall marks. This column is conclusion marks, which I gave you. It may be possible like Pramit, who concluded good, but eventually he did not get good marks. And similarly, like Hemraj concluded well, Tejas concluded well, but overall marks are less. Why? Because conclusion was given to you and you were good in that. So you should know that where your strength is. Tejas is good in conclusion, he could do that. Bhavani could do that. Hemraj could do that. Pramit could do that. So if you are good in conclusion, do it in the actual one, right?
Okay.
Okay, friends. So with that brings us to an end of this session. Practice karo. The more you practice, more you speak, it will be better for you, right?
Sir,
Yes. Good night, sir.
sir, I have a
Thank you.
question, sir.